What's up, y'all, and welcome to another episode of Worldly Church Girl. It's your girl, your host, Lillian Harshaw. On today's show, I have a returning guest. She was so phenomenal on my show last time that I just had to have her back. She is an author, a podcaster, a blogger, a motivational speaker. She is a life coach that helps people learn how to cope with their mental health and their self-worth. So it gives me great honor to introduce to you again, and hopefully not for the last time, Sue Bowles. I know that you are an author, a speaker, and you're a certified life coach, but I don't think a lot of people really understand what it means to be a life coach. So can you explain what that is?
Sure. And when I first was encouraged to look into it, I had a negative opinion about it because I didn't know much about it either. And I certainly didn't want to be something that I felt was like a snake oil salesman. So I did a lot of research, on it, and found the right school that lined up for me for what I was looking for. A life coach is someone who helps, basically, easiest way to put it is for what I do as a life coach. I help you when you want something better for yourself. That's the easiest way to put it. So if there's something that you are working on currently, be it maybe there's some relationship stress or anxiety or stress management or some kind of goals or relationship issues or communication or identity or boundaries, anything like that, those are all things that a life coach is able to help you with. Life coaching is different from counseling in that I am not a licensed therapist. I don't do diagnoses. Counseling deals with dealing with things from the past that affect you and helping you bring it to the present so you can operate in the present and heal those past wounds. Coaching deals with things that are happening in the present to help you to get where you want to go. That's probably the best way to describe the difference is that the things I work on are very much present day situations that are causing stress, causing anxiety, causing conflict, and helping my clients, helping people learn how to navigate those, build their life skills with that, and then be able to move forward to get where they want to go.
I'm glad you broke that down like in that way. I know a lot of people are confused with that. So when you are dealing with someone in the present and you see that they're starting to tap into their past, is that when you go, wait a minute, you're going in a direction that I'm not, able to help you with? Do you say that to them, or do you actually try to help them at that point, or do you lead them somewhere else?
There are clear-cut guidelines that I have and ethical standards in place for what I can help someone with and what I'm not legally or ethically allowed to help with. Now, I am still bound by some of the mandatory reporting things, just as anyone is, in terms of harm to self, harm to others, abuse, those kind of things. In terms of I'm working with a client and it seems like over the course of a few conversations, we keep digging into past situations where it's pretty clear there's some trauma there or something that's still unresolved from the past. That's where we start talking about, is that something better handled with a counselor? Now, it doesn't mean that I can't still coach, but but what I coach on is different. So I've had clients who are seeing a counselor, and they're dealing with the things they're struggling with there. But then what we're coaching on are current situations. Maybe they want to have some kind of life change, and they're not sure what steps to take to make that happen. What do I need to do first? Maybe there's some kind of relationship conflict. I worked with a mother-daughter team earlier this year that had a really big conflict after COVID last year. So it doesn't mean that so it really just depends on what the situation is. If it's something where it's clear that it is not something that falls under the scope of life coaching, my next obligation to the profession and to the client is to then help them line up with someone. I had a phone call last night. Someone who found me on Psychology Today was looking for a psychiatrist for their girlfriend. Obviously, I'm not qualified for that. But what I was able to do is while I'm on the phone with them, I was on the internet and looking up local resources. And the gentleman gave me his email so that I could email him a PDF file that was online for his area that had 15 pages of resources, so that could get him going where he needed to go. It was obviously something that I'm not a psychiatrist. I don't deal with medication. I don't do med management or anything like that. So, but I was able to help in that regard, help him get where he wanted to go.
Okay. Now, I know that you, from a personal standpoint, deal with a lot of mental health issues.
Mhm.
Can you explain like some of the stigmas that are around mental health?
Yeah, because that's when I speak, that's what I speak against. As a mental health advocate, that's what I want to help break down. One of the biggest stigmas is that there's shame and embarrassment around it, because how to even explain it? It's really easy. It's easy when an injury is visible. So, and so when you break your arm and it's in a cast, it's something visible that everybody can see and everyone can understand. He broke his arm. Okay, it's healing. But when the injury is in the mind and in the heart and in the emotions, not everyone understands that. And out of that sense of misunderstanding and lack of understanding, that person responds, usually in a not real helpful way. And I believe over the course of decades, that's where that stigma has come from. Now, yes, way back when, in the days of the asylums, when people didn't understand mental health, it got a really bad rap, and the people didn't know how to deal with it. Thankfully, we have come so very far. And honestly, all of the athletes and the high visibility people, musicians and doctors and actors and actresses and the talk show hosts and everyone who are being open about it have really helped catapult breaking down the walls around mental health. We have a long way to go. Don't get me wrong, but when you have Simone Biles and Michael Phelps and Demi Lovato all coming out and talking about the different struggles they have had, and so many others, that goes a long way to starting to normalize the conversation. And the more we can make mental health a topic of everyday conversation, that stigma will start to drop. Now, it doesn't mean that everyone's going to wear on their sleeves whatever they're struggling with. Mental health is a private issue because it can't be seen, and because many times it's rooted in some kind of trauma or addiction or wounds or abuse or anything like that. And there are things with that we struggle with within ourselves, first of all. Try to blame ourselves. What did I do wrong? How could I have prevented it? When honestly, the answer is most likely nothing, and you did nothing wrong. But we still play that game in our own head. And because of that, we keep a lot of things private. So I understand mental health is a private thing. But at the same time, what I can do as a life coach, as a speaker, as a mental health advocate, and as one in recovery myself, is share my story to help make it part of an everyday conversation and to make it normal that it's okay to not be okay.
I was just thinking that mental health, unfortunately, should become more of the norm, treated like any other issue that people have, any drug addiction or anything like that.
Right.
You still need to pay attention to a person's needs and learn how to listen. Yeah.
I saw an article online this morning on psychologytoday.com that said globally, depression and anxiety are on the rise as a result of COVID. Globally.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty scary.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think people have such a hard time understanding mental health disorders?
That's a great question. I think a lot of it is lack of understanding, lack of education. The stigma certainly pays into it, but I don't know that people understand, or better way to put it, I don't know that people fully understand the connection between the brain and the body. And that when say, for example, when there's a trauma in your life, it literally rewires your brain and how you process things. And that affects your emotions, and that affects your communication, and that affects your relationships, and that affects how you interact with people. And that can even come into play in the job situation. So I don't think people understand that connection. But here's the good news is that you can also learn to rewire the brain as it heals. The brain rewires itself as it finds the right path for it to start working. There's a lot of scientific evidence out there. You can go on the internet and Google it. You'll see different brain scans of the way a brain looks when it's trauma versus healed, and traumatic. A brain from a person who's experienced some kind of trauma versus the brain of someone who hasn't. There is a significant difference. And I don't think people understand that. Right now, trauma is a big buzzword.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm never going to downplay trauma. At the same time, that word can be used in a very flippant way. And I never want to disregard the depth of that word and the woundedness that is tied to that word. Mm-hmm. But I think a lot of people don't understand, because they also don't understand that the brain is an organ. I'm in recovery for an eating disorder, and I still remember the day that my brain finally started to clear, because I was finally feeding it the way it needed to be fed, because I was eating in a balanced way. I never knew that half of my brain fog was because of that. And so there's so many different tentacles, if you want to use that word. There are so many different aspects of it that, because the brain is such a complex thing, no one's going to fully understand it. So when just a common Joe across the street comes across something and they don't understand the complexity of the brain and how it can affect so many things, it's very easy to just make a comment that does more harm than good, not out of malice, but simply out of lack of education.
Now, with the holidays, as I was screaming and yelling about earlier, with the holidays coming up, it's hard for people because they're going to be dealing with things that they may have lost due to COVID, whether it be family, job, or in just their own state of mind, just life changes, period. What advice can you give them right now how to deal with all these first moments and first just the holidays, period? What advice can you give them?
Sure. And I can certainly understand it from a grief aspect. This time last year, we were starting our round of firsts after losing mom. So I fully understand that and still remember it. And Facebook reminds me of it every day right now. But that also helps me see how far I've come. So that's encouraging in that regard. So I can certainly understand it from a grief aspect. I can also understand it from just a family conflict issue, or loneliness or anxiety. I can understand it from a number of different angles. That my suggestion would be the same for everyone. It's going to look different how you play it out. But first of all, have a plan. What is your plan for how much time you are able to spend with people? And build your calendar around that. And just be upfront about it. And you don't have to explain why. But if you can only handle 2 hours of social life right now, then say that. I'm only able to stay for a little bit of time. So I'll be able to be there from this time to this time. And put that out there well in advance so everyone knows that the people that really want to see you also plan accordingly. Because there are people that want to see you. And if you will respect them and let them know what your boundary is in your time, they are also able to make sure that they get the time to see you, because they love you and want to see you as well. In addition to that, having the plan, if you go somewhere, like say it's a party, say it's an office party or a church party or anything like that, and you don't want to be there together, or you don't want to be there alone, and you take a friend with you, have a safe word. If you're just getting burned out, you just can't take it anymore, have a clue word that you're going to tell that person, and that's their cue to be able to get you out very discreetly. So, hey, we were supposed to be over here a half hour ago or something, however you guys work that out.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the other thing. It's okay to build in alone time, but don't let yourself stay alone. We are built to have connection. So just balance that time out. Know what your boundaries are. Balance that time out. Give yourself that time to recharge, but don't totally isolate, and still build in however much time you can handle in giving it to other people, and communicate that clearly. And then stick to your boundaries. And if it ends up you're having a good day and you can go beyond your boundaries, go for that and enjoy yourself. Give yourself permission to have fun, and give yourself permission to have some downtime too.
Now, how does one push themselves to not stay isolated? Because sometimes isolation makes them feel safer.
Mm-hmm.
So how does a person push themselves, and those that are around them, should they try to push that person to come out of isolation, or should they just leave them alone and let them work it out in their own time?
That is a tightrope act. That's a tightrope to be walked. It's out of a heart of concern and love that someone wants to bring somebody out of seclusion, bring somebody out of their isolation, out of whatever's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're in that frame of mind of, I just don't have it to give people, it's difficult to see it from that angle of, this person cares about me. Because usually by then the brain is just wiped out. You're very distracted. And instead the brain might be thinking, leave me the heck alone.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with you right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that perception versus the intention are two very different things. And even how that time is navigated does a lot for relationships. And that's where that clear communication has to happen, to be able to protect yourself from them beating yourself. Oh man, I'm such a screw up. I just did this. I shouldn't have. Now I'm going to have to go clean up this mess again. And you heap it on yourself, as compared to, again, in a moment when you're a little calmer, you have some more time, you can think some things through. Again, comes back to having that plan. Come up with a couple lines of how you want to explain it. Of, I appreciate your concern. Right now, for me, I need this. Check back with me tomorrow at this time. And that way, it does two things. It does a few things. One, it respects the other person's concern for you, because that's why they're reaching out, is they're concerned for you. It also gives you the permission to say, right now is not a good time, but I'm not going to totally shut the door because this person cares about me. So I want to set my boundary, but then also allow a little time for them to check back in. That then gives me time to prepare my headspace that around this time I'm going to get a phone call. Mm-hmm. And then I'll know how to plan. And then it's up to you how open or honest you choose to be with that person. Everybody needs, I have a friend that says, everyone needs a few people who would tell us when our jerk is showing. And I'm not saying isolating is being a jerk.
Right.
I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that my friend, when she says that, is talking about the power of community and the power of authenticity and the power and strength in some genuine relationships. So when we have those few people in our lives and we are struggling, trying to get through the day, get through the holidays, get through this time of life, whatever is going on, those are those people that you want to be able to lean on, that you've already established or are starting to establish a relationship with, where you can say, all right, this person I'm going to trust. And I'm going to tell them I'm going to trust them. And I'm going to, there's going to be a sacred trust. But at least I have one person I've let in that when they ask me how I'm doing, I know I don't have to give the Sunday school answer. Oh, I'm just fine. Instead, I can say, you know what? I'm just really struggling right now.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I want or what to do or how to handle it, but I just need to tell somebody, and you win.
Mm-hmm. That's a great answer. Excellent answer. Okay, so enough with those kind of questions. Let's talk about you. Let's catch up with you and everything that you're doing in your life. So this is more for the people who didn't catch you the first time. you written this great book. I actually won an award last year. I did not know that. You didn't
Yes, you
tell
did.
me that.
I'm
Shame
sorry.
on
Yes, you
you.
did.
Shame on you for not telling me that.
We were talking about so much. It's easy to let little details slip.
This is true. But it's a great book. So I'll tell everybody about the book.
All right. Here it is. Did you get the right angle?
There we go.
It is. These cameras,
I know, right?
Left is right and right is left.
Mm-hmm.
The book is called This Much I Know, The Space Between, and it is on Amazon and Kindle. The award that Lillian was alluding to, it won second place nonfiction at the Faith and Fellowship Book Festival last year. Thank you. This time last year, I found out I was an award-winning author, so it was a surprise, and I was really honored. It's my first book. I self-published it. The fact that it won an award is very humbling and very encouraging as well. And the book is my story. It's my first book. I'm working on book number 2. I have plans for books number 3 and 4 already as well.
Awesome.
This is Mary getting time to get it all from my head to the paper. So if somebody can just go like this and read a book, I'm in good shape. So, but the book is my story. I have a lot of trauma in my background, and it took a long time to deal with it. And this is 2021. And quite frankly, it was only 2014 when I really started doing the hard work of healing of something that happened when I was 7. That was early 70s. So that's over 4 decades. So when I talk about trauma, I'm speaking from a personal experience. But the book, the book shares my story as the first half. And the concept behind the title, With This Much I Know, is each of us have a story. That's the one thing nobody can take from us is our story. It's mine. It's yours. It's your story. And that much I know is my story. The space between is the healing journey that God took me on to start dealing with my story. And the second half of the book talks about that. A lot of it happened, as I mentioned before, there's a retreat program that is near and dear to my heart called Walking Stick Retreats. And we just had a retreat a month ago, so I'm still all smiles about it. Next one's coming up in April, and anyone's invited, open invitation. So anyway, but the book talks about the healing journey and about just some of the first steps that God took me on. The first step was I had to own my story because, quite frankly, I was in denial about my story. I didn't like my story. And I figured if I denied it, it would make it not true. It doesn't quite work that way. So I had to own my story, first of all. And that was huge because when things happen to us, the brain, as we said earlier, is a very complex organ. And it will find ways to protect us. And a lot of time that way is to shut something off, shut something down, deny it, downplay it. And that actually does more harm than good because that reaction is more of a reaction in the brain response to the trauma because it doesn't know how to process whatever just happened. Mm-hmm. So it's, you hear the fight or flight reaction. That's what that is. But then from that, I then had to grieve my story. And that's something we don't talk a lot about, is that trauma, anything that has happened that is a loss in some way, loss is a huge continuum. But there's a sense of grieving that needs to happen. And I had not grieved my story. I had not let myself feel the loss of all the things that happened. Mm-hmm. But then from there, so the next step was realizing that I'm valuable to God. And it was when I started realizing and daring to believe that it was true, that's when things started to change for me. That's when the book started really getting written. That's when so much started happening. When I dared to believe that I'm valuable to God and what I have to say has worth. That's when things change. So the book goes into a lot more detail than that, obviously, and it's been encouraging. It's been very humbling to read some of the comments on Amazon when people leave reviews. I think it's got 18 or 19 reviews right now, And just reading some of these stories is very powerful. Some of the comments. It's very humbling and very, very rewarding at the same time.
Was it hard for you to write about you that way?
At the start, yes. The books started out more as wanting to share life lessons that have been learned and kind of telling a story and then having a synopsis, lesson learned. And then as God started working on my heart and working on me and healing me, that's when the book took on a new way. It actually became very therapeutic. It became very cathartic to write. It was also scary because some people in my family didn't know all of my story at that point in time. They all do now. They are amazingly supportive.
Awesome.
There's nothing. I still have the picture of the day I gave my dad his copy of the book, and I'd already given him the manuscript before it went to print. But then I gave him his copy too. And there's just this wry little smile on my dad's face as he's reading what I wrote inside the book and everything. And he's like,
Aww.
I'm reading my daughter's autographed book.
Aww.
So, it's just a treasured moment. So, it was actually very helpful. It took some courage. It was kind of scary to put it out there, but, it's worth it.
Well, while you were writing, was there like parts in there that you was like, oh my God, I forgot all about that?
That
writing
happened. That happened. Yes. It's amazing what the mind remembers. I also learned a lot about myself. I have a better understanding of myself and how messed up I was, quite frankly, as a result of writing this. For example, I didn't put together some of the aspects of my eating disorder until I was writing in the book and then subsequently speaking. And the thing in particular was that activity became my number. Everyone, when you have some kind of trauma, you're trying to numb out for something. I numbed out through activity because my eating disorder was the manifestation, the outward behavior of what was going on inside that I didn't have words for. But what ended up happening is that if I stayed busy, let me back up. I learned through writing the book. In college, I got my sense of self, my sense of worth by being seen. So I would intentionally do things just so that certain people saw me, because then I knew they cared. And that's what I'm seeing. See already how worked out it was. But again, that's just where my brain was at this moment in time, at that point in my life. So activity allowed me to be seen. So activity became my number, because if I was seen, I had worth. And if I had worth, then I was valued. And you see how all that went. So if I stayed busy, I didn't have to think, because here's my activity level, but underneath here is everything else churning. But if I kept busy, I didn't have to deal with this because I stayed busy. I didn't have to think. If I didn't have to think, I didn't have to feel. And if I didn't have to feel, I didn't have to deal with all the stuff going on underneath. So I lied to myself and I lied to others, because when I was seen, I had value. So I was over involved in college. And that made me feel like I had value and was important, because I had a lot of responsibility and I was coordinating these all campus events and I was doing this and doing that. And inside I was dying. So I learned a lot about myself when I was writing the book, but it was actually a really, really good exercise. Not that it was intended to be that way, but it was really good in that regard.
So those quiet times, those are the times you probably just like broke down, wasn't it? Like those were like, oh, what in the, you had to actually sit there and deal with your trauma or traumas when things were still. And is that the time where you was like, I need to find something else to do?
You're talking about in college or when I was writing the book?
In college.
In college, I didn't know what was driving all this. I did not remember the traumas. I hadn't dealt with them. The particular trauma came from when I was 7, came out to my dean of students, who was like my confidant for 4 years. And that came out, I think, probably a couple months before I graduated. It was not planned. It just kind of came out in the conversation. in a very cloaked way. And thankfully, Ed was very skilled and knew to ask a couple questions. And that's when it came out. And I didn't know it was going to come out. Wow. Hadn't planned it. Hadn't even really remembered it.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but that was just God. That was just God. And what was really cool is I think it's about 7 years now. No, a couple of years. Yeah. When the book came out, I got a chance to give a copy of it to Ed Highland. And actually, Ed Highland is my dean of students. He's retired. I mailed him a copy, but I've been emailing him about it. But even long before this, I had a chance to go back to my alma mater, Defiance College in Northwest Ohio, for homecoming one year. And Ed met me for breakfast that morning. And I got a chance to tell him personally how impactful he has been in my life and how much that day set me off on a whole new trajectory, and I didn't even know it. And it was the hugest privilege in my life. Who doesn't want to know you've made a difference in someone's life? We all want that. Yeah. But how many people have the opportunity to tell the person that had that influence personally and in detail how their life affected yours? Yeah. I had that privilege. Yeah. And it's something that it just meant the world to me. And I can tell from Ed's response just that he was very appreciative to hear it. You know, he was.
I'm sure everybody wants to feel like they impact somebody, if just not one. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. So which goes into your program, My Step Ahead.
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about that.
What do you want to know?
Everything.
I can tell you everything. Everything and everything.
Everything.
Everything. Well, My Step Ahead is my business name. And my speaking, the coaching, everything happens under My Step Ahead. And the concept behind that, it came from a teaching at church. I was changing churches in 2015. I was at the new church. I was still kind of checking it out. And I was interrogating, in the process of this, I was interrogating the pastor a few times just to make sure it was the right place. And once I signed on and changed my membership and everything, he was doing a teaching about growth. And he asked the question, what does it take to help somebody else grow? And because all of us think we have to have it together. I have to be qualified. I have to be a pastor. I have to be certified. I have to be ordained, all these other things to help somebody. And his point was, no, you just have to be a step ahead. And that really latched on to my heart. And it has become my business. And the concept is this. While we form a human chain of support, and when we say you only have to be a step ahead to help the person behind you, is I'm here where I am in my story right now. There is somebody else who is just starting this journey or is a couple steps behind me in their journey. With the knowledge and experience I have, I can reach back to help and support them while I'm still reaching out for help and support for my stuff. And between that, there's a human chain of support. Yeah. That's what My Step Ahead is about. It's okay to not be okay, because you don't reach out for help and support if you think you got it all together. Exactly. But when you understand that it's okay to not be okay, it makes it more acceptable in our minds and easier to then say, all right, I need a hand. One way this came in play was earlier this year. We lost Mom October 5th, 2020. This past year, April 2021, a friend lost her father tragically on Easter. So myself and somebody else went over to the house the next day. And there was concern expressed because I was only 6 months into this with losing Mom, and I wasn't doing real well at that moment. And there was concern expressed of, Sue, is this too much for you? And I said, well, I guess we're kind of going to figure this out, aren't we? And we're going to find out. And I went there, and while there were tears, within the context of that hour or so we were at the house, the person who had lost her dad started just settling in and just having conversation and feeling very comfortable asking what can be awkward questions. And she asked them of me. And it was, what's the funeral home going to do? We have to do this. Do they do this or do I do this? What do I expect? What about this? And that meant the world to me because I wasn't that far ahead.
Yeah.
But at least that much I had already been through. And I could only speak from my experience, but it was enough to at least try to help her along the way because I was a step ahead.
Yeah.
That's what my step ahead is all about. You don't have to have it all together because I still don't. I'm a lot better now than I was 6 months ago. But even just this week, the last few days, I'm having all kinds of memories of mom. A lot of it's thanks to Facebook.
Yeah.
But you don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to arrive. You don't have to have somebody else tell you that you are now qualified to do something. You have lived through an experience that someone else is now experiencing. Therefore, you are qualified.
Yeah.
That's what it takes.
Yeah. Life makes you qualified. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's what you do with that qualification is what matters.
Right.
That's what matters.
And we can only operate within the bounds that we know. I wasn't going to try to tell her this, or this about these different details because I don't know. I'm not going to fake that. I'm not going to disrespect her by trying to make her feel better. All I could do was answer the question to the best of my knowledge with my experience and preface it with, from my experience, this is what happened. It may be different from you, but this is what happened for us. Right. Just to at least give a little bit of help and a little bit of idea of what to expect.
So she wouldn't feel completely alone in this one.
Yeah. And just to take away some of that anxiety. I mean, I know what it's like to have the brain running like you cannot believe 24, 48, 72 hours after you lose someone. Holy smokes.
Yeah, because you don't even get a chance to really grieve. You have to go in business mode.
Yeah.
They don't allow you to grieve.
You
have
right
to be
into
in business. Yeah. Right. They're like, okay, now what do you want us to do with the body? Now what do you about this? Now what about this? Like,
what about the service? Jesus. And everyone wants to know, when's the service? Like, can I breathe for 5 minutes?
Yes. And that's what really cracks me up. We just found out. I don't know when the service is. When I find out, I will let you know.
And yet you find tactful, graceful ways. I mean, people are asking because they're concerned. Yeah. They love you. They love the person that was lost, and they want to express that love. So the intention is nothing ill at all.
No.
The timing might be a little off. But you have to understand. You don't have to, but it's difficult to put yourself in the mindset of understanding that at the same time, while you are this deep in grief, the other person's up to here in grief, and they're trying to figure out how to deal with it too. And the best way they know how is to reach out and say, I care about you. I want to see you. When's the service so I can see you? So, but yeah, in those moments, now thankfully for us, that was not the case in that we had notice of what was going to happen. We knew we needed to honor mom's wishes. When mom, for our mom, she had a number of health, what we call near misses for about 3 years. So we had because we have such a large family. I have one aunt and uncle that had 13 kids. So I probably have 40 or 50 cousins just from 13, probably about 25 to 30 cousins just on mom's side of the family. And that's just first cousins. So then you get the extended friends and everything. So we had set up a Facebook group where we invited people in. We just called it the mom's health updates. So we were able to post in there once things started happening. And then the texts were blowing up and it was just nonsense. Like, who am I texting? Which one? Who did I just say what to? It was just crazy. So for us, it was more controlled because we had that, and because of mom's situation, she had a catastrophic stroke. We knew what needed to happen. She was very clear in her living will about that. And even without that living will, we knew what would have needed to happen. It made it a lot easier though, when there was no guessing because we'd already had these conversations. But so, when those first few days, when people were responding, it's out of love and it's out of their own grief. And it is a challenge to try to figure out how to balance that out a little bit and how to respond appropriately. And most people are gracious and they understand and they're trying not to invade too much. So
That's true. That's true. But yeah, you're right. It can be very overwhelming at
mm-hmm.
that time, and you just kind of go on autopilot.
Yep.
You
Oh
just
yeah.
answer the questions, take care of the business,
Mm-hmm.
and just until, I hate to say it this way, until showtime, and then
The
and then
crash doesn't come till after it's all over.
after it's over.
And when people leave, we did mom's service a week, the Monday after she passed, and my brother from Maryland was here until Wednesday. So he left Wednesday, and about I had to go back to the office on Thursday, but I was just like, I got nothing. So I just kind of, then they were so totally cool. I'm like, if I shut my door, please understand. They're like, not a problem. But yeah,
Right.
it's the crash comes.
Absolutely. So, what would you love to accomplish more of in your life?
What would I like to accomplish more of?
Mm-hmm.
My vision, and I don't say this in a haughty way.
Mm-hmm.
I have a vision to go to develop a national speaking tour.
Okay.
I am, and again, I don't say this in a haughty way at all. I am a good communicator. I speak well, and I believe there are things that God has put on my heart to communicate to a broader audience. I've had this vision and this dream for a while, and it's starting to, it's starting to happen. The speaking, the podcasting, the coaching, all those things are starting to happen. But when this blows up and comes to fruition, I'm talking state, like not auditoriums, but I'm talking like arenas. And I'm talking the old style 80s thing where they do an invitation and you've got counselors and you're going backstage to a room and you're talking with people and you're praying and you're getting follow up and you're getting them knit into churches. Because I think that's, Christian concerts are great for entertainment, but we've lost the evangelistic aspect. We're singing to the choir. And while I might be speaking to the choir, I'm also speaking to a different choir that still needs to hear a message. And that hopefully will resonate with them. But I've got ideas for, the worship, for a drama. When the song by Mercy Me, The Hurt and the Healer, came out years ago, for the first 2 weeks I heard that song, my mind immediately went to a drama. And I've got it all scripted out and ready to go.
Really?
Just ready to record it and videotape it when I get the cast and the crew and everything together. So I have all these things. So where would I like to see this go? I'd like to see it blow up. That's what I'd like to see.
Well,
I
believe God's going to do it.
Well,
I know it's not for you.
Not for me, but because I believe that God wants to do something with this message. I believe it is a unique message. And for the longest time, I was hacked off at God. Why would you let this happen? Why did this? And just didn't make sense at all.
Yeah.
Now I'm understanding that he did not abandon me through that. He didn't make it happen. It was the result of sin. But here's the thing. He has restored me. He has redeemed the time. And he has allowed me to now have a story that reaches many, many people because I can relate to so very many things. Yeah. Any one of these things is a lot for one life. And for the longest time, I was mad. Why did all of it come my way?
Yeah.
Childhood rape, other sexual abuse, suicidal, parental divorce, eating disorder, all these things, dysfunctional home, all these different, that's 6 things right there. All of them a major trauma. And yet, by the grace of God, I sit here and he allows me to share my story because he wants other people to hear the hope. That's why my website says I'm a voice of hope, because that hope pulled me through. And now I want to be for others what others have been for me.
Yeah. Well, I believe he'll do it for you. Because one thing I can definitely say, you're not doing this for self. You're not doing this for fortune or fame. you're truly doing this because you want to help others, because you want to be a step ahead.
Yeah. I want to help others take their next step.
Yeah. That's why I love you.
Thanks, Lillian.
I'm going to buy your first ticket.
All right. Well, here's what I have to do when I go on tour. When we start booking this whole deal, I have to make sure I have the current list of everyone who's had me on their podcast and give them the ticket.
That's right. Just at least let me be top 10.
I
know you got a big list. Just let me be in the top 10, and I'll be okay
not
with
a
that.
problem.
So, with all that being said, what's next for you? What you got coming up next?
Well, immediately,
you have any shows coming up?
Yeah, well, I've got 5 podcasts I'm recording just this month, and I've got a couple more next month, and I'm continuing to book into December and January right now. So if anyone has a podcast and whatever I speak resonates for your audience, please let me know. I would love to talk about how I can possibly help you reach your audience. But immediately this weekend, November 5th and 6th, I'm at a women's conference down in Cincinnati, Ohio, down in Springdale. It's called the Grace Story Ministries Conference. And I'll have a vendor table set up, and I'll have my book there. I was there last year as well. And it's a great opportunity to get to meet people and hear their stories and encourage them and hopefully help them in some way. I've got a friend actually going with me, a friend named Lisa, runs a 501c3 out in Newark, Ohio, called Healing Our Warriors. And it's a one-day event for anyone. They've had people from New York and Florida, I think, coming in for this all over the country coming in for it. And it helps people better understand where anxiety and depression and trauma and all those things come from and how to start helping themselves. It doesn't heal everything, but at least makes it more manageable so then they can go ahead and continue the process of healing. So I've teamed up with Lisa she does that event once a month, and it's no charge for anybody. And then I come in and do a 4-week follow-up coaching session with any of the attendees who want to participate to help the seeds that are planted that day, help them water and take root. We might be talking about boundaries or communication or goals or whatever else is on their mind of however I can help best them apply what they're learning. And then, so Lisa's also going to the conference with me as well. Let's see what else I got. Like I said, I got podcasts. I am working on book number 2. I don't have a target date yet. I also had to take a year off. Michael W. Smith said when his dad passed away a number of years ago, and he wasn't able to write music or create for a year. And I'm understanding that now. I'm just getting to the point where I have some mental and emotional energy to start looking at the book again. So I am looking forward to getting that done. I would love to see it come out in late 2022. Like I said, I got a lot to do. I have a lot in my head that's not on paper yet. And then, just continuing to coach clients. I do offer a 15-minute free consultation. If anything we've talked about here resonates with you, please go to SueBowles.com. There is a form there. It says, book consultation. Just sign up for a 15-minute. It's free. We can talk, learn a little more about what it is that you're wanting to grow in, and see how I can help you. I would love to see my email box blow up with that as well.
If you could have any song be a theme song when you walked into a room, what would it be and why?
I have thought about this one too. and when you talk about when you do keynotes and speak on stage and stuff like that, what's they call it, your walkout song?
Right.
I'm Still Standing by Elton John.
Love that song
because I am still standing.
Yeah.
Looking like a true survivor, feeling like a little kid. You
got to walk out with some pep.
Yeah.
You can't just stroll out.
Yeah, well, because no matter what has happened, no matter how many times I've been knocked down, I am still standing. Yes. And now I'm standing solid.
Yeah. Oh, come on now, solid. That's what I'm talking about. See, that's why you're on here again. And you're coming back again. I am. If you want to come back.
I would love to come back. We're going to have to really figure out what we're going to talk about if we're doing this a third time.
Well, we'll figure something out.
We will. So what I hear you saying, using one of my coaching skills, is that come January, February, we're going to be booking something.
That is what you hear me saying.
Oh, good. Okay. That's a coaching tool.
So you're on all these social media sites, correct? If people want to, all right. So if y'all want to find her out and look into her life, she's on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Are you on Twitter a lot, or?
I'm working on Twitter, but and Facebook, Instagram, Twitter is all under My Step Ahead. And then there's also a Sue Bowles coaching page on Facebook as well. And then LinkedIn is just me, Sue Bowles. So
okay,
just me.
Okay, but most importantly, if you need any help and you want to talk to her, you said you offer the 15-minute free consultation, and go to her website, shoot her email. We all can need another ear to listen to us, an unbiased ear, if you will. So she is definitely that person to do that with.
Thank you, Sue, for being on my show. You always bring such a deep and personal insight to mental health that we should not be ashamed of what we've been through, but to grow through what we've been through. Did you know Worldly Church Girl is live? That's right, Worldly Church Girl has gone live. As a matter of fact, this very episode was recorded live. You can see it on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitch. And if you would like to be on Worldly Church Girl or just learn more about yours truly, go to www.worldlychurchgirl.com, shoot me an email, and let's see what we can do with that thing. What are you waiting for? Each show is only going to get better and better. Hit that subscription button so you will never miss another episode. And as always, thanks for joining your one and only Worldly Church Girl.